welcome to our show this fine Friday, very cold morning in New York. We're very happy to have Salia Bousadre. I'm sure I messed up your last name, who's a member of the Communist Party in France and one of the editors of its political journal. We're going to be talking about the big demonstrations there taking place over the last couple of weeks. And then after, COVID is over, according to Anita and Mr. Biden, and we're going to be discussing whether or not that is actually the case, along with the killing of Tyree Nichols, brutally murdered in Memphis, not too far from where Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in 1968. Terrible killing, and we're going to be digging into that just a little bit. And then finally, we have our discussion of the week from our readers, and that's our show. Well, Salia, again, welcome. Big protests in your country over starting on the 19th. Uh, it's not the first time Mr. Macron has tried to so-called reform the pension system. Why is he trying to do that? What is his goal, and how is the working class and the trade unions? How are they responding?
Yeah, thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for your invitation. Um, yeah, it's not the first time. He already tried to make a reform in the on the in 2019 with and and he has to face a big strike already and big protest, and he has more or less already to give up at that time, because and he was kind of saved by the coming up of the COVID, where it was saved because he doesn't have to say I give up. He just has to say, okay, we do that. We do the reform later because now we have to face the COVID. It's very important, which is a way to say, no, I didn't lose. I didn't. I will do it later. So now he's trying to do the promise he kind of did to the financial world, to the Commission of the European Parliament, because he made them the promise that he's going to cut the taxes. So the goal is to make the poor and the worker pay for the rich by making them working longer. It's because all his politics is to be good, to give advantages to very high rich people. I'm not talking about like regular wages, but or even middle classes, but very rich people. And the goal is to cut taxes for them, to make the people poor and working class pay for the spending, and it's a part of the explanation. The other part is to make the workers weaker in order to make them work more without any power of negotiation, because he's not only doing a reform of the retirement, I would say, but he's making also for now it's the second one, reform of the unemployment insurance. And the goal there is a link between the two reform, because the goal is to make the workers weaker, then they have less power to negotiate, and then they will say okay to low wages, no fight to raise the wages. And we have a problem of wages, we have a problem of inflation, like you guys over there. And yeah, that's the whole point. That's the point, to answer to political problem of the the capital class, the bourgeois class, and it's world class because it's a way to make the workers weaker and without any power of negotiation.
So the main reason is to prevent taxes on the rich and to make the working class pay. And and
Absolutely.
and the workers are saying hell no. I mean,
Yeah, no, no. The workers, it's absolutely amazing because we didn't see that for years, which is we have two in this in the have the union of all unions, like they are doing a kind of front. There is okay, we all go together, all the unions, with our all difference, we all know that we disagree with the fact that we have to go to stay longer in the work and go later, like because already you can retire at 62. It's very difficult to explain that. I'm just going to say that. And the government wants you to work two more years and to live at between 64 65. It was a point of negotiation with the right wing of the parliament already, between the government and the parliament. And the working class is saying that hell no, we are not going to work 2 years more because we are already tired, because you're destroying our work, our jobs, doing them becoming a bullshit job. You're destroying the public services. There is a lot of complaint, like you guys, of teachers, of hospitals, the nurses, the doctors, who are very not well paid. There is no raise when there is inflation. There is no raise for the teacher for years, years, years. The teachers here, they're very, very bad, not well paid. There is the problem that we will have to work very to get very old before to retire when the I don't know how you call it in English, but the to make sure you get old and being with healthy, it's between 62 and 64. So if you have to wait 64 to retire, it means that you will be retired and being sick afterward. First of all, the second point that I was going to say, I'm sorry, is that the problem is that the 25% of the French people, the most poor, the poorest, are already dead when they get 62 years old.
mm,
25th percent of the French people, the poorest, are already dead when they get 62. It means the
mm,
color of the retirement insurance, they will never saw it. So that's what it's about. That's one point. The other point is the unemployment of the old people. They are already, when you get older, you're already the ones who lose his job because the firms told you, look, you're too old to do that. So you go to unemployment. And there is a 50% of the workers who are 61 years old only who are working right now. It means the other one, they're not working. 25% of the workers who are 61 years old have no job and no retirement insurance already. 30% of the workers who are 61 years old are under the level of poverty. The level of poverty is around 1,000 euro in France. It means 30% of the worker who are 61 years old are under 1,000 euro here a month. So
mm.
what is it, the goal? The goal is to make you poor and weaker, that you cannot negotiate with your boss, you cannot negotiate with your wage, and you cannot negotiate your condition of work. You will say okay to everything because you just want to make sure to have a job, because you know that when you get older, the unemployment is waiting for you. They're gonna fire you, so you say okay to everything. You have no more power of negotiation. Yeah, that's one of the point, and that the people knows that they understand perfectly, and the government is going on and say no, maybe the people does not understand, so we're gonna explain, making pedagogy, as they say. No, no, no. The French people, the French worker, understand perfectly what is going on. That's why there are a million of people on the street over here.
Congratulations. And the Communist Party is involved. Can you talk a little bit about how the Communist Party is responding to the strikes?
The Communist Party is so I talk about the action of the unions. It was one of the most important, because the union, between the union, like the union being united, it's a whole point, because it means the social union is united. It means that everybody is going to follow. There is a front of the union, united, the representative of the
For the
workers.
union, yes.
And on the other side, in the political side, there is also a union on the left that we win just after the presidential election. And the Communist Party did everything to make sure to prepare a front of the political parties from the left for the retirement reform fight or struggle. This struggle was prepared already for months, and yeah, the French Communist Party take the initiative. I don't know how you say it. Try to make sure that everybody is on the same page on the on this battle, and that when the reform, the discussion on the parliament, and the proposition by the government come, everybody is like okay to go, and ready to go. And it's kind of what happened. And now they're doing, all the parties from the left, which are part of what we call now the NUPES. So it's the New Union Popular Ecological Social and something else, NUPES, yeah, and social. So there is the Socialist Party, the Communist Party, the Green Party, Europe Écologie Les Verts, de FI, donc la France Insoumise with Jean-Luc Mélenchon. So all Génération, so there is a lot of them. They're part of this front, and they're acting together. They're working together. They're doing meeting all over the France together. So there is the government is facing the street with the front united of the unions and the workers. He's facing the party of the left, united, and he's facing a division of the right, because the right wing, les LR, try to, of course, they agree with the reform and retirement, that the people work more, blah blah blah, but they're trying to negotiate, their part. And even his own camp, his own deputies of the parliament, he may face some opposition, because his own deputies, his own representatives, are tired to have to defend something which is so unpopular, because a reform is rejected by a high percentage of French people in France in the public opinion. So that's one of the big problems of the government, actually.
Well, thank you very much, Celia, for this
Thank you.
very.
Thank you.
We learned a lot this morning. We wish the party and the working class and the people of France success in fighting back this effort to impose austerity and make the poor pay for what the rich should be paying for. So,
Yeah.
thank you again. We're so happy you could join us. We look forward to seeing you when you come back to the United States. Until then, stay strong, and stay safe. And hello
Yeah,
to all the.
thank you very much. And the same for you guys. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you,
Bye bye.
Celia.
Well, folks, very, very
Hmm,
tremendous struggles.
great.
And the demonstrations on Tuesday, Celia said, were even bigger and more powerful than the demonstrations on the 19th of January.
Hmm,
And one of the, wasn't able to ask her about this, but women are playing a big role in these strikes because they're
mhm.
having a particularly a deleterious effect on issues affecting women. Well, we're waiting for Eric to join us.
Oh, good.
Um, One of the things that happened during the course of the week, Rosanna, is that we learned that Mr. Biden is arguing that, well, he announced it last September that COVID is over. COVID is over, and on I think it's May the 12th, they plan to end the state of the emergency provisions, which will mean that uh, some people won't be able to get test free. It'll mean that Medicaid and in some place states won't be able to be eligible. Costs will go up, and
Mhm.
is COVID over, Rosanna?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just taking a different turn, but it's not over. I mean, you just need to look at the statistics. How can this country, especially who has lost the most uh, people in the world, we're like number one on that world meter. You can check it. Who have lost, who continue to lose people, who continue to see the rise in hospitalizations, all of those things. I don't see how you can say it's over. Once these vaccines are no longer available to poor and working people, we're going to see a spike of some other kind of variant, probably. So, no, I don't think it's over at all.
Anita, one of the articles I was reading said something like I don't remember if it was 1,500 or 3,000 people died in one week. A week in January. Whether it was
Mm.
1,500 or 3,000, it was way, way too many. What do you think the reason is for this? Now, there's a difference between the Republican and Democratic approaches to this thing.
True.
The Democrats want a slow easing, and the Republicans want to cut it off immediately. Well, what's going on here, in your
Well,
opinion?
let's face it, Joe. Our entire medical system, our approach to health in the United States is really messed up. It's just all oriented to secure profits for private concerns in the healthcare industry. And I think when we had the COVID emergency emerge 2.5 years ago, we had put a band-aid on that. We made medicine a little socialized for a minute when it comes to this one disease. We increased our attention to public health measures. We made sure people weren't going to drop off of the Medicaid rolls. And we took some steps that were really enabled us, or would have enabled us if they had been better implemented, to avert a tragedy. So I think now, I mean, it's been 2.5 years. It might not be an emergency the way it was in March of 2020, and it's reached a new plateau. But now it's just going to be treated as poorly as we treat heart disease and cancer and everything else that is plaguing people in this country who don't have health insurance, especially. And this will knock, I heard, 15 million people off the Medicaid rolls. And plus, cuts in a lot of other things like food stamps. When uh, Trump initiated this vaccine thing, he could have gotten more promises from big pharma, but he didn't. Instead, the United States taxpayers put a lot of money into those vaccines, and now we're going to be charged for them, so that big pharma can have its profits. So it's just now going to be just as bad as the rest of the medical system in the United States, and we have to make sure we protect the people, and we have to go back to demanding a single payer healthcare system of some sort, Medicare for all or whatever. That's what we really need.
Why will single payer help, Anita?
Pardon me?
Why will
Single.
single payer help? How
Well,
will that?
it will ensure it would be it would lift all boats. It would make sure that people got the preventive care that they need, and make healthcare costs lower for everyone. And a healthy workforce is going to be a more productive workforce. So and people should not be going into debt and going into bankruptcy because they had a health emergency. That's just crazy. We we're the only industrialized nation that doesn't give our secure or ensure our population the basic health care. And we really need to beef up our public health system as well to make sure that the few dollars that are spent on public health now really prevent big catastrophes down the road. So, and another thing is the Republicans don't want, they want to take away the COVID emergency for some things, like taking people off the Medicaid rolls, but they don't want it to stop, what is it, Title 42, which is keeping us at the border, they're keeping asylum seekers, making them stay in Mexico, according to them, because of this COVID crisis. But now the Republicans want to say COVID's over, but except for Title 42, they want to keep on doing that. So it's just they're two-faced as usual.
Yes, and that Title 42, Rosanna, which is that rule, that special health rule that the Trump administration imposed a couple of years ago. The Biden administration tried to get rid of it. And then the Republicans appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court put a stay on it, put a pause on it indefinitely, and now they're going to have a hearing in February, in a couple of weeks. And then they'll probably decide it, who knows, June, September, or whenever. So they're still using that as a battering ram to keep asylum. It's such cold, cynical, you know.
Yeah. It's inhumane. Really, it's inhumane because all of these people are suffering, living in the streets. And, for here in Southern California and in the border towns, uh, I know folks in the West are suffering with snow and everything like that. But we're also having a, a weather system that has been colder than many other years. And so it's gotten into the 40s. And once again, I know folks on the East Coast don't see 40s as a big deal. But for us here in the West Coast, it is a big deal. And
Mhm.
so people are not prepared. We don't own parkas and, down jackets and things like that, or even heavy blankets.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of people who are suffering, and it's not just that, but it's they're going hungry, their children are going hungry, and if we really really care about people and humanity, we would stop this nonsense and give them the relief that they deserve and they need as fellow species, human, just human society, taking
Mhm.
care of human society. That's it.
It's a basic issue of humanity and compassion
Yes.
and caring for uh, our fellow siblings, comrades, and friends.
That's
Eric,
right.
welcome. We're glad you made it in. We've been talking about the uh, the Biden administration getting ready to suspend the COVID state of emergency. AFL-CIO, nurses union, others very much opposed to it. we encourage everybody to do whatever you can. Send a letter to the editor, call your representative, oppose. COVID is still very much here, and we can't pretend. Uh, pretend. Everybody's still coming down with it. Our producer and her family the whole family had it over the holiday weekend, and just read another friend just caught it. So it's still out there. So stay safe, y'all. It's we don't want to play with this thing. Eric, who is the chair of our African American Equality Commission, has joined us. Welcome, Eric. We sadly saw Eric on the other day. They had the funeral for Tyree Nichols. It was quite a moving event. A young father died brutally at the hands of four cops in Memphis, not far from where Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered in 1968. Now, Sharpton, in his speech, Eric, Reverend Sharpton said that, the fact that you could even have African Americans on the police force was a victory that was won as a result of the big civil rights struggles. People went to jail, people died in an effort to break down barriers in employment all across the board. But does it make a difference, Eric, whether the cop is black or white or Asian or Latino, when it comes to preventing these horrific acts of wanton fascist like gang violence? I mean, what else do you call it, Eric?
I call it fascist-like gang violence. I think that is exactly right. And I do not think that the color of the officer makes a difference. The issue here is that the officers were all black. Five officers and two firemen have lost their jobs resulting from this attack on Tyree Nichols. And it was brutal. If you haven't seen the video, please go and see it. However, it also highlights the systemic nature of racist violence by the police in the United States. So we might not know the intent of the black officers. We might not know why they chose to attack. I've seen all sorts of speculation flying around, but at the end of the day, the issue is that they felt that they could, with impunity, because of their status as policemen, lie about lie and say that Tyree was driving recklessly and that's why he was pulled over. That was proven not to be the case, which is part of the reason that these officers are now facing second-degree murder charges. But the brutality of the attack, the fact that it was caught on video, the fact that they assumed essentially that there would be no repercussions. That is at the heart of this. There was no worry that there would be justice for Tyree on the part of the officers, and that is because of the way that officers have been protected and the way that they view their relationship to the community. So I do not think that singling out bad officers is enough. I think that officers that kill should be punished, but I also think that we have to address the systemic struggles. And Kamala Harris highlighted the justice for the Floyd. I'm blocking on the name here, but
The George Floyd Policing Act.
yes, the George Floyd policing act. Thank you so much. And Kamala Harris talked about that and the need to get that passed. The Congressional Black Caucus is also pushing that. Um, but uh, it is going to be really hard to get it passed without a huge mass movement um, to overcome the Republicans in the House. And the other issue is it enough? It's a step. I think it's an important step, but I think that the mass movements that we're seeing in the street, I think that the street mobilization, the calls for a democratic uprising to say no, we're not going to accept ongoing police killings of our community, have to continue.
Anita, is the policing system broken? Is this a symptom of a broken system, or is it working
Yes.
the way it's supposed to work? Huh? Yes.
I think yes. I mean, what Eric said, I agree with him that it is a systemic problem. It's not one or two bad apples, as they're always saying, and it doesn't have anything to do with the race of the officer either. I mean, they're brutal police. I know I'm always comparing the Jamaican situation with the U.S. situation, Jamaica, where there are no white police officers at all, and they have a horrific rate of killing of Black citizens. I mean, it's the race of the victim that seems to be true here. Except, of course, police also brutalize white working class people as well. So it's. I think we just have some systemic things: the way police are recruited, the way they're trained, the very nature of the police as an institution, having its origins in controlling slavery and enslaved people, qualified immunity that gives people immunity. They know they're not going to get any particular repercussions, and so just a lot of things that we could do. We're hoping. I know the a Black caucus in the Black Congressional Caucus is hoping that Biden will really make a statement about police killings. We need to do some systemic things to make everyone feel safe, to make everyone able to make sure what they're doing is safe, and calling for help without fearing for their lives in the future. So I think we really need to change some things systemically, and less militarization of the police force, and more ruling out white supremacists from the police force as well.
There's going to be a State of the Union, but Mr. Biden is giving the State of the Union speech next week or the week after, and they're calling on him to use the bully pulpit to use the power of the Oval Office and whatever to or wherever he speaks from to demand action uh, in the Congress. But with that two or three person Republican majority, do you really think it has any chance of getting past the George Floyd Policing Act, Rosanna, or we got to
Well,
wait till the next Congress?
once again, I think it all depends on the people. We cannot give up on applying pressure, and talking to our family members about the injustice. We can't allow uh, people to be killed for no reason. We just had a double amputee shot here in Los Angeles about a week ago. This person was not a threat to anyone, and he was still shot. There was another person, Keenan Anderson, that was also tased for more than 30 seconds, and he died as a result of that. And
Hmm.
so we cannot become immune to these things. We have to continue the pressure. Even if it feels like it's hopeless, it's not hopeless. We just got to keep the pressure, and keep acting and protesting, and raising our voices louder and louder until we're actually heard.
Eric, more whites are killed, it was 1,031, 61, I forget last year, than one third of whom were black. Then you got the Latino number. But proportionally, black people, black men and women, killed at a rate almost 3 times
Mhm.
that of whites. But it's in the interest of everybody, the point I'm trying to make. It's in the interest of everybody, black, white, Latino, to stop these police killings, Eric. And the only way you're going to stop these police killings, you know, it's to me, the policing system is not broken. It's working exactly the way it was designed to work. It's working exactly the way it's been working since the slave patrols. They're designed to strike. You know, every time the police stop me, my heart almost stops.
Hmm.
I've been stopped. I've been harassed more than once, you know, walking down the street with my bike, surrounded, who's riding down in Jersey City with my partner, surrounded by police cars, racist remarks telling us to go back to Alabama. So I'm from Ohio, buddy. I don't know where you're from. I mean, and just terror and these goddamn specialized units that they use. We ran into them uptown. I don't know why they got them down there in Nashville because they act like a bunch of fascist thugs. And whether it's done by black folk or white folk or Latino or Asian cops, it's a function of a racist policing system, Eric.
It's a
And
function
so,
of a racist policing system. It's a function of a racist policing system, and I think it also has to be put into a slightly larger context because the police started out uh, as slave catchers, but they were also very active early on in anti-labor union attacks. So and attacks on organizers. So it is an oppressive force, and it is not here to serve and to protect. It is here to oppress, and that fundamental nature has to be changed. There's 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 initiatives that are going on to try to change that, and they take different forms. And one of those forms is to try to bring the police under the democratic control of communities. That is one thing that's happening right now, in particular in Chicago. But the uh, the function of the police has to be really examined and has to be dismantled in terms of making them not be an oppressive force in our communities, but become actually people who serve and protect. One aspect of that is you see efforts to get around the police department. So there's efforts to have a separate call to make, um, a separate telephone number rather, so that you can call for help without calling for the police. And that is for people especially for people who have mental health problems. A lot of Many of the people who are killed are people with some kind of a triggering issue uh, that had somebody who cared about them reach out for help, and the help that came in the form of violence and death. So
Mhm.
that has to stop.
it has to. It has to stop yesterday.
Right.
And one of the things is keep your eye out for the vote in Chicago at the end of the month for the Civilian Control Board. There's a uh, election taking place there, and they're electing citywide in several different parts of the city community boards that will have the responsibility of controlling police action, dealing with the budget, hiring, firing, and addressing instances of this kind of killing and other forms of brutality. Pay attention to it. Let's take our discussion question. from our audience. We got a little letter this morning. Um, hey, gang, we're a gang now. Thought we were a collective. We're a gang. Hey, gang.
Gangster.
The, thanks. The party program states the necessity of building People's Party, working class led. What y'all doing to make that happen? You're going to link up with groups like DSA, Progressive Caucus, Working Families Party, others, Anita? What are we doing to make that
Uh,
happen?
Well, we're working. Instead of, I see these political parties as really like superstructural things that don't necessarily reflect exactly the class struggle that's going on out there. So we are. I think our party works deliberately on the side of the working class, and what will best serve the working class. And at times, it may be working with the Working Families Party, which is something we're doing in Ohio right now, where there are some really interesting candidates on a very local level for city council and school board and that kind of thing who are working with the Working Families Party resources. They're basically running on a Democratic Party ticket, but they're working. They're candidates who are in the interests of the working class, and I think we could find candidates like that in other parties, but we can't look to political parties to really save us. It's not, the Republican Party is not the ruling class exactly. It doesn't coincide precisely. So we just have to make sure that our efforts really support the empowerment and the autonomy and the unity of the working class going forward. We have to evaluate each election as it comes along.
Are you ready to run for governor of California, Rosanna, 2024?
Well, if conditions are ripe, I think we are. Yes, I am. But I think that's it's really important to keep in mind that conditions have to be ripe before we talk about any kind of uh, united um, uniting with all of these other parties. It might not be the case when the situation gets to that point. We're not there at that point yet. We do join forces when where we agree on the issues, because
Mhm.
our, as Anita said, we're first and foremost on the side of the working class, and so what's best for the working class, that's how we roll, I guess you would want to say. So, but you know, we have to take things as conditions arise, and as what is strategically the next step towards towards moving the working class forward. We can't skip any steps. We understand, and we have this future vision, but um, but we can't skip any steps and move to something that the working class isn't ready for.
Mhm.
And there's your answer, comrade who wrote to the GMR Collective, the GMR gang. Thank you, Rosanna. Thank you, Anita. Uh, Thank you, Eric, for joining us this morning. And we'll be back next week with a new edition of Good Morning Revolution. By the way, Langston Hughes' birthday was the other day. Happy, I think it was 122nd or something like that. Happy birthday, Langston. And we'll see you all next week. Until then, stay safe, stay strong, and stay in the fight. Take care,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.